Alright, Watson Root hype. We went our separate ways after a very satisfying lunch. The sky, however, saw fit to dull in color rapidly once we were finished. A deep and active gray stirred up above.
The fog appears to be rolling in, class, so it's best we clean up our mess and return for the day.
Everyone went to do as instructed. I hope I can pack everything away quickly enough. I reached out to the baskets before me to set about packing everything away.
Should I help, Emily? That's an awful lot of work for one person.
Why, I'd love that. Thank you.
Well, I stuffed myself silly on your food today. It's the least I can do.
He then set about skillfully packing everything away.
By the way, did you make the Scotch eggs in your lunchboxes?
How did you know?
I don't know. Something about them felt like you, I suppose.
I should hope that's not a roundabout way of saying they were unappetizing.
What? No, no! They were scrummy as could be. Just the way I like them.
You aren't lying?
I would never! I'd eat them every day if I could.
Is this a roundabout way of asking me to marry you? Thank you, then. I'm so pleased to hear you say that. It was worth making them for the compliment alone. I was warm with happiness.
I admit, I was surprised a noblewoman had helped with the food.
Well, it's not often I'm able to have a picnic with friends, so I was eager to make something special for it. Pendleton was not impressed with my attempt, sadly.
It's more important that you tried something new, if you ask me. Always takes a drop of courage to see it through.
Yes, I agree. I was overwhelmed at first, but I feel like I learned a lot from the experience. I'll have to make them even better next time.
Oh, then I hope you'll let me sample them next time as well. I'd gladly try anything you made.
It's a promise. I'll want your honest opinion on whether I've improved.
A promise indeed.
Wow. These two, they get along so well. We continued to pack everything away as quickly as we could.
Would you look at that? The fog rolled in right quick, didn't it?
It most certainly did. We'd best rendezvous with the others before it gets worse. Panicking slightly, I picked up the basket and began to walk. But a strange thing happened as I did. All of a sudden, I couldn't spot Watson anywhere. Watson? Where are you? No matter which direction I turned, he was nowhere to be seen. Well, at least Holmes told me he was going to go and look for people. Didn't just vanish into the air. I wasn't fond of being alone like this. I could feel an inexpressible sense of nervousness well up within myself. Watson! Wait for me!
Emily! Where are you?
I could hear him calling me from far away. Instinctively, I started running in the direction of his voice. It wasn't long before I could finally faintly see what appeared to be a human figure. There you are! Watson, wait! That figure has no hat. You know it's not Watson. The figure showed no signs of responding. Perhaps he couldn't hear me? I tried to run closer, but against my efforts, this figure slipped farther and farther away. My apprehension grew stronger, but standing in place would do nothing. I decided to continue following it. My goodness. Okay, is this the same as when we tried to chase Holmes? It might be. I don't think this really matters, but I'll do the back alley because that's what I did the first time around. Are we gonna get introduced? Yeah, Colonel Morin again. And Pendleton saved us. Okay. Alright, so all that section was the same. So I wonder if we go through this bit every time it was somebody different? That's interesting, if so.
Emily! I'm so glad you're all right. I'd been looking high and low for you.
Watson?
I'm so sorry. You are all right, aren't you?
He rushed over and gave me a powerful embrace. Aw, Watson! Wow. I could feel his shoulders shaking. That was all I needed to know about how worried he had been. Forgive me, Watson. I hadn't meant to worry you.
You haven't got anything to apologize for. What an awful affair that must have been.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Come with us, Watson. We will see you home.
The three of us climbed into the carriage and set off for Baker Street. Pendleton's sigh was the first thing to break yet another lengthy silence.
My lady, I am going to be very frank with you. For heaven's sake, do something about your unfortunate habit of sticking your nose into danger. Please, sir, she wouldn't have done anything if I hadn't left her alone. I'm the one at fault. I hope you won't be too hard on her. All this must have been terrifying enough, and I surely as well put her through it.
Stop, Watson. It's completely my fault. None of this would have happened had I not gone wandering about on my own.
But still...
I'd overheard something I fear I must discuss, however. Something involving a Colonel Morin.
Colonel Morin? My lady, where did you hear that?
Pendleton's expression changed upon its mention. It was earlier. There was a man with me in the fog by that name.
Colonel Morin was arrested a long time ago and sentenced to life in prison.
But I heard his name. I can't be mistaken, can I?
Life in prison? You suppose he could have broken free? No. As far as I'm aware, he's still locked in the Tower of London. You're absolutely certain you didn't mishear, my lady.
But... Could that have been a mere illusion in the fog? The more I tried to follow that line of thought, the more fear wrangled me. At a certain point, I could only shake my head to rid myself of anything more. A part of me knew that would do little to help. I could feel a mist begin to settle over my heart, one that seemed even less likely to clear than that of London's fog. Oh my goodness. Is this the end? It's the end! Alright, we just got a little taste-a-rooney of Watson's Route. What's this one called? Fog over Baker Street. I think that was also in Holmes' Route. So maybe we're not quite out of the common route yet, but this is going to be much more Watson slanted than Holmes slanted, I'm hoping. Several days had passed since the picnic at Hyde Park. The memory of that foggy day still lingered with persistence at the back of my mind, but only that. Nothing of its like had occurred since. The more time went on, the more I'd wondered if it was all little more than a passing dream. Peaceful days came and went. It was on one of those such days, which felt as common as the day before, that I chose to accompany Holmes and Watson on a case they had received. Just the dogs. Watson asking for my assistance hardly felt out of character, but Holmes allowing it certainly did. Thankfully, it hadn't taken long to find out why.
Whew! You were a fantastic help today, Emily. I could have managed finding 1 or 2 Yorkshire Terriers on my own, but 8?
And I should say it was fantastic fun. I've always had a fondness for dogs, but I've never been permitted to keep one.
Well, we did need more than 2 of us for the job. How fortunate for us that you had nothing better to do.
Is it too much to ask for a simple thank you from you? But the tiny things are so quick on their feet. Made them more of a task to catch than I'd been expecting.
That would be because Yorkshire Terriers were bred to catch rats in homes. Small as they are, I cannot fathom why anyone would want such a ferocious beast as a pet. You didn't manage to catch a single one of them in the end. They more chased you than the other way round. Bah. I rather think I served a valuable purpose by luring the dogs from their hiding places. Are we not agreed? If you wanted to put a positive spin on it. I told you in advance that was the most efficient way to do it. I lure them out, you catch them. Simple.
However we did it, we still found them all safe and sound.
God help me. Is this buffoonery really all we have? I need a thrill of some sort. A case which dares to work the brain.
Be careful what you wish for, Holmes. We're all better off without thrills of any sort. By the time we left the West End mansion from where the owners had issued the request, the sun had begun to set.
With how dark it's getting, Emily, Holmes and I should see you home.
Oh, I don't know. I'd hate to put you out too much.
We do owe you in some slight measure for your assistance, so don't waste time playing modest and accept our offer. See? Even Holmes agrees with me. No reason to refuse.
All right, then. Thank you, gentlemen. The fastest way home involved passing through Baker Street. As such, we set off through London. I wonder if Holmes Sr. is still gonna pop up. As we kept at it, the sun continued making its way under the horizon. It had gone completely dark by the time we reached Baker Street, and a subtle underlying dread I had hoped to ignore settled in. That dang fog's back. The fog's come in. It's nearly as thick as it was during the picnic. I still wonder exactly what I saw then.
Doing all right, Emily? Something on your mind?
Nothing worth specifics. I was thinking of how foggy it's gotten.
Take care not to trip, Miss Whiteley. None of us want to be at the epicenter of the great earthquake of London.
That isn't funny! I'm not going to— Ah! The timing couldn't have been worse. It could have been Holmes making me self-conscious, or a bout of poor luck on my part, but right then I tripped over myself and straight into him.
Shall I be expecting aftershocks? Look at you. Did you hurt yourself?
No injuries. That's when we were all jolted to our senses by a sharp cry from along the street. Oh! Help! What? Who was that? I instinctively turned in the direction of the voice. It was difficult to see due to the fog, so I could only make out the frame of a boy being pushed away by a large man, after which he fell to the ground quite forcefully. The man dashed into a nearby alley, clutching the boy's bag in his arms. He stole that from me!
Let's go after him, Holmes! Right. Look after the boy, Miss Whiteley.
They acted without a moment's hesitation. As they pursued the criminal down the alley, I did as instructed and remained behind with the victim. Okay. Should I? Yeah, I'll skip this bit. It looks like it's going to play out the same. Alright. Alright. This is the one person she thought of, right? What was the line? I thought there was something about her being like, I could only think of one person. Maybe this is after this line. Help me, Watson! All I could think to do was call for him. What made him the first thing to come to mind, I didn't know, and I hadn't the luxury of deciphering why. He simply was. The knife was now to come down on me. I shut my eyes. Gah! By God's grace, no horrible pain followed. The man was knocked away with a brutal forcefulness. He clutched his side, apparently now the one in pain. Had he truly come to my rescue? I timidly looked up. Before me was not at all the one I had prayed for, but another man entirely. A built man, bold in stance and broad-shouldered, with his walking stick pointed with menacing precision at the robed figure. It is Holmes Sr. again. I'm so sad we don't see Watson Sr. That would have been great. I guess we can skip through some of that. Alright, so then they came back.
Emily, what happened?
Alright. That's like the most important part. Then let's go into this. The man had fled, leaving his robe behind. Oh no!
He's gone.
The man scowled deep into the fog as if concentrated on something. Eyes narrowed, nostrils flared, lips thinned and such. But just like that, he dismissed those rigid features. He collected himself before turning to me. So, last time, the Holmeses had a bit of a to-do, and we ran after Holmes Jr. But I presume to assume that we won't be doing that again this time, right? I'm so curious.
Beg your pardon. Shan't pay me any mind.
His tone grew calm once more, and I recalled what Holmes first said upon seeing him. "You're Holmes's father? You're the Sherlock Holmes?"
Indeed I am. I imagine my son's been causing you no shortage of woes.
"I dare say it's quite the opposite. Ah, by the way, I'm his friend." Holmes placed a finger on my lips to silence me.
"I'd prefer you not waste your breath introducing yourself to the likes of him. Now, what happened here?"
"I was attacked by a strange man whilst waiting for you to come back. I'm very well, of course, thanks to your father."
"I'm so sorry, Emily." "As am I."
"Please, don't be. You were off helping someone in need, weren't you? Then you've nothing to be ashamed of. You both did the right thing."
That said, how did you not notice such a crook sniffing about the streets in all but plain sight? There's no harm in getting carried away when the time calls for it, but you should never leave a lady alone like this again. You have a better head on you than that.
You're right.
"I ask that you not be so hard on them. I wasn't hurt. Ah, were you able to recover the bag, Watson?"
"We did! All's well there, at least."
"Well, we should return it straight away. I'm sure he'll be pleased. And he's not too far. He said his home is right there." I pointed over to the small flat nearby.
All this fuss when he was this close. Well, complaints won't do a thing now. Do you want me to come with you?
"We can handle ourselves well enough from here, so feel free to run along home. With me, Watson. Miss Whiteley, you're coming as well." "Coming?"
"All right."
I understand your feelings, Junior. Certainly I do. But did I not only just mention getting carried away? You've always been one for losing sight of yourself the moment a new case falls into your lap. Cases will always come in due time, but never forget who we solve them for. The people who inspire us to protect may not be around for protecting forever.
A reference to Mother, perhaps.
In part, yes. Her, and a reminder to never forget I still have you. I never want you to experience what I did.
Surely you didn't come here to say that to me.
"Holmes?"
It's no use denying that I made a poor choice. That choice put her in needless danger, and I deserve to shoulder the blame for it. Instead, you're intent on doing the opposite. All you do is coddle me, and it makes me feel that much more pitiful.
That's not my intention. I believe you're capable of making calm.
That only served to inflame Holmes's anger.
Me? Calm? If that were true, I wouldn't have made such an elementary mistake in the first place.
The boy detective shook his head as the emotions within him boiled over from the pressure. Overwhelmed, he began to back away from us in awkward steps. "Wait, Holmes! Where are you going?"
I'm going to find that man.
"But in this fog? He must be long gone by now, surely. It's too dangerous to pursue him."
You aren't to come after me, Miss Whiteley. Have Watson escort you home.
He showed absolutely no interest in listening to me. "Holmes, it's dangerous! Don't go!"
I'll leave her to you, Watson. After you've seen her home, wait for me in the flat. No, Holmes! Stop this!
Holmes paid mind to Watson's protests as much as he did mine, and with a quick turn of his heel, he disappeared into the fog.
That fool.
There was a distant, lonely air about him after his son was gone. "We left him. We didn't go. We didn't run after him. We're here. Things have changed."
I'm sorry, sir. I don't know what's come over him.
You've nothing to apologize for, William. I know how difficult he tends to be. I came here because I wanted to tell him something. As luck would have it, I may have done more harm than good.
"You were here for him?"
Is it related to the man who attacked Emily?
It could be, yes. Ah, but of course. You two are friends of his and study detectives in your own right. I'll spare no detail.
His expression shifted to something very grave.
Long ago, I dedicated my life to eradicating a group known by the name Spellbound. Their leader was killed in time, and the group's executives locked in the Tower of London. Spellbound was no more, or so I had been led to believe.
What do you mean?
Despite their imprisonment, some of their executives have been sighted walking the streets of London in recent days. I cannot say if such reported sightings are valid naturally, but the revenge they would exact upon me if true takes little imagining. I'd hoped to warn Junior to stay on his guard, but you can see how well that went.
That isn't your fault, really. Holmes is stubborn no matter the situation. With you, he can be impossible. I know he aspires to be like you, but that's why he can't take relying on you. A matter of pride, you could say. He struggles every day to become accepted for his own accomplishments, only to be overshadowed by yours. I know he doesn't let it show, but it's rather hard for him.
Watson.
He and I are similar in more ways than one, then. I had the same struggles as a boy, and to that end you'll have to pardon the burden I've had you shoulder as his assistant.
Oh, it's not for me. We've been good mates for a long time. I know how he is. It's how we work, I suppose.
I can rest easier knowing he has someone who loves and knows him so well. Now, it's time I go after him. Will you be joining me, William?
No, I'm going to see Emily home.
Thank you, Watson. Though I feel a bit guilty you can't go after Holmes. Man, left his friend alone to take the girl home. So chivalrous.
Don't say that, Emily. I want to go with you. I don't ever want to leave a girl... I don't want to ever leave you alone again.
It was in how he looked, how stern he was, that stunned me to near silence. Silly girl. He's only saying he doesn't want you walking alone at night. He's always been a gentlemanly sort. Yes. I could feel my heart beating a bit faster. I wished I knew why, or that I could hide that I knew why from myself a bit better. Hey, girl, you know.
You really do make a fine foil to my son. You've never once shied from being true to your heart.
Watson and I then parted ways with Mr. Holmes. Before returning to the mansion, we agreed to stop by the flat of the boy from earlier to return his bag. He's actually there? Shock.
Here you are. Be more careful in the future, all right?
Oh, I will. Thank you. It looks as though everything's still inside, personal. That's good news, right? It is. Thank you again, Mr. Detective.
You're welcome.
Watson looked a little embarrassed. The boy's bag safely returned, it was time for the night to end. He was so pleased to have his bag back, wasn't he?
It's moments like that which make me want to pat myself on the back for becoming a detective.
You know, I don't believe you've ever told me before. Why did you want to become one? To my surprise, Watson appeared somewhat bothered by the question. Did Holmes inspire you? Had you wished to follow in his footsteps after seeing him become one?
Oh, no, that's not it.
Watson wasted no time dismissing the theory.
He's amazing, of course. That much is plain to anyone. But I've known since we were children that no amount of effort on my part could match up to his. Even then, he'd prefer observing bugs through a magnifying lens over playing outside. And if we invited him, he'd tell us off, say we were getting in the way of his research.
It's easier to picture him as a boy when he hasn't changed a bit. If he's not the reason, then may I ask what is? His silence wasn't deliberately rude or reluctant. He scrunched his lips and nose whilst finding the right words, but even then they were firm in their refusal to come to him. Watson?
It's nothing.
I was not expecting such reluctance from him on this topic. Color me intrigued. That one was considerably more unwilling. He couldn't bring himself to speak for a short while after such a flustered denial, but he soon broke the silence between us. Oh, I did wonder.
My desire to become a detective started with a girl.
My! A girl, you say?
I'd first met her when Holmes and I went along with our dads to the countryside for a case. I was 9 or so. Well, I say met, but it was more I stumbled into her. She'd been trying to free an animal from a trap.
Oh my god, I am going to die if it was Emily from back then. Didn't he say the countryside? Yeah, they were in the... Because she moved to the countryside for a long while before coming back into town. Oh my gosh. This is my theory. This is my theory, everyone. I could be totally wrong, but what if? What if? Oh no. I will die.
I wanted to help her, and though we managed to free the poor thing, it had grown so weak. And it didn't make it.
He paused as he told the story. Even now, to tell it made him genuinely mournful.
I wanted to help so badly, but there was nothing I could do. I was so upset I wanted to cry. But not her. She never cried. When she saw how I was, she suggested we make a grave for it. She then told me there was a case she needed to solve at any cost. The case would always come first for her. It came before feeling lonely, sad, or whatever else she might have wanted to feel.
I'm right. I'm right, aren't I, guys? I'm right. Because she has to solve the case of her parents. I'm...
So she said, but I could tell she wanted to cry as much as I did. When I saw how much she worked to keep it all in, I wanted to do something for her. Anything. A sinking feeling told me that if I left her alone then, I'd regret it forever. Of course, there wasn't a single thing I could do or say. I couldn't make her smile, and I couldn't convince her that it was all right to cry. The only thing I was able to do was treat her injuries from the trap.
I've never seen him look so heartbroken before. After all these years, she remains such a big part of him. How could you forget this? How could you forget the sweet boy? Emily. Emily, if this is you, I'm gonna slap you for forgetting the sweet boy. Listening to him had caused a sensation I'd never had before. My stomach felt heavier. My heart felt stretched, like someone had reached into my chest and began squeezing it.
She never left my mind even after returning to London. I couldn't forget the raw determination in her eyes when she told me she needed to solve that case. I'd always hoped to see her again one day. Maybe by then I'd be able to help her. And then I would be able to see her smile.
He knew keenly the weight of his confession. Both cheeks and ears deepened to a shade of red. So you believe you'll find her if you learn to solve cases of your own?
Right. It's possible we'll cross paths at any rate.
So you might. You're still the picture of your younger self, too. You still put your whole heart into helping people.
You think so? I should think if I told Holmes, he'd give me a good talking to and say it's a terrible reason for becoming a detective.
Well, I don't think it is. And I hope you're able to meet her again one day.
Thank you. If I could, surely I'd be the happy...
Watson abruptly cut himself short and stopped in his tracks. Watson? Did you see something?
Your hair's a bit...
Hmm? Ah! As I blindly felt for what he'd spotted, I caught a knot with my fingers. I caught something in my throat, too, apparently. Excuse me a second. Must be all the emotion.
Sorry, Emily. It must have happened when you were attacked.
Don't apologize for that. I shall live. I continued to move about it with both hands, pressed along the knot, and gave it a tug before Watson stopped me. It's like the trap all over again. It's like the freaking trap all over again. He's gotta help her untie this knot. Oh my goodness.
Don't do that! Stay still a bit.
What for? He was being queer, I thought. He was more fussed over my hair than I was, to where he reached out for my hands to keep me from doing anything more.
Force it and you only damage your hair. It's so pretty that it would be a shame, so let me get it.
If you'd like, then. Thank you. I watched from the corner of my eyes as he carefully worked away. He was quite close and methodical about it, his eyebrows creased in concentration from beginning to end. Come on, remember the face he made back then. Remember. Remember who you are. I felt nervous as it was, but I knew he would never hurt me. It was the opposite, even. His touch tickled. Come on, give it to me. Why does this feel so familiar? It feels distant, like it was a long time ago. Perhaps I've had someone help me like this before. Yes, perhaps. Mayhaps even.
There! It's done.
Oh, that was awfully fast.
Was it? I've always been better at delicate work like this. It might have come from always helping Dad with his practice.
So that was it. Certainly made sense. Doctors had plenty of things to do that required an equal amount of precision. Bless you, Watson. You've saved my hair. With little more than a smile, he responded.
That makes 3 of us. You haven't changed either.
Me? He didn't explain what he meant by that. He was content to keep that very small, very kind smile. Do you know already? Do you know this is her? Did you recognize her right from the beginning? Watson, don't give me freaking... Oh god, what was his name? Don't give me Hachiro Iba vibes again. I can't do it again. I can't have you be the new Raptor Claw boy. Because if he recognized her right from the beginning, and he still sacrificed that so that Holmes had a girl to love in the last route, I can't handle that. That's too much. That's too much. Yeah, Emily, ask the important question. Do you know something I don't?
I don't think so. Shall we be going?
Very well. With no more distractions and the gas lamps lighted dimly to guide us, we continued on, my hand securely held by his. When did you move to hand-holding?
Oh, look at me babbling away.
Stories of first loves were as shameful as they come. Oh, it's him! He's saying this. Oh, I'm losing my mind. We just started this route. No, I can't lose my mind already. Goodness gracious.
Stories of first loves were as shameful as they come, and I'd said mine to her, which made it doubly so. Worse yet, I saw her home without telling the most important detail. If only I had the courage. Through all his talents, I'd never once felt inferior to Holmes. And then we met her. Emily Whiteley, a vision in my eyes from the moment I saw her. And from then on, every time my mind wandered and wished for her to look to me when she needed someone, I also thought something much more twisted. I wonder what Holmes would have done if he were in my place. If she ever finds herself in dire straits, I want to be the one she comes to. I don't want to be the lesser one. I don't want to feel powerless to stop her suffering like when I was a boy. Why do my feelings always get ahead of me? I want to think things through and be her support, but nothing goes how I wish it would. Holmes is there to give her rational advice. She's relied on him, and I'm hopelessly jealous of that. Oh no, my heart. Oh no. I know I can't be like him, and I shouldn't try to be. But I don't know if I'll ever be able to say the truth. I sighed and sighed again, as if I could somehow ease my worries if I did it enough times. Huh? The lights aren't on. I would have expected Holmes to be home at this hour.
William!
I turned and saw... I'm not used to being Watson, sorry.
I turned and saw Sherlock Holmes, pale-faced and in a cold sweat, rushing towards me. What happened? I thought you were chasing after Holmes.
I was, but I fear we've run into a new problem.
Oh no! Nothing's happened to him, has it? With apt timing, I heard the familiar sound of a Scotland Yard officer blowing his whistle from farther along the street.
There's no time to explain. You're to come with me.
Yes, sir! My nerves, previously fluttering with love, were now sparked from alarm. I followed after him in a rush.
To be continued. Oh my god.